Hi, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Daniel. And yeah, I think this channel is going to be kind of dedicated to discussing my experience with anxiety and also, I guess, hopefully um, my growth through this trial. I hope that it'll be helpful to people who are on a similar path. I've dealt with this for a very long time. Well, relatively speaking, it seems like a long time. I'm sure some of you have dealt with it substantially longer. And one thing I have found helpful is hearing the stories of other people, hearing the experiences of other people. It's kind of been a crutch along the way, and at times when I couldn't really carry myself, or times when I needed that additional inspiration or motivation just to keep on going or to get out of bed, right? So I hope this will be helpful. If you don't like it, you just don't have to watch. But I thought I would start just kind of giving you my story, right? Just here's where I'm coming from. Okay, so I think there are basically three major periods where um, I had like these inflection points with anxiety that had a dramatic effect on my life. Okay, and I'd say the first was when I was 24. Now up to that point, I mean, I would tend to be a little bit more nervous than the average person, but I wasn't really an anxious guy. Not like the type of not like agoraphobic or anything like that. But anyway, I was with my brother, and I was home for college. Now I was in the military, so I went to college a little bit later. So I was 24, and I'm home from college, and I had this friend who, unfortunately, did give us some what was ketamine. If you're not familiar, ketamine is a cat tranquilizer. I'm not recommending it, although it is well, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. It's a cat tranquilizer. I had done it like once or twice prior to this, and then here was that night. He kind of just went up giving me a bunch, and I'm with my brother, and we're in our basement, and we're kind of doing it. We're having fun, it's whatever. We're listening to stupid music and kind of just hanging out in the basement. And there's a bunch left, but we don't really want to save it. Again, I mean, I've never been big into drugs. He's never been big into drugs. So I'm just like, whatever. I'm just gonna finish it. So I finished probably about like 3 times what you would normally take, right? So a really big dose of it. Now it's a short trip if you're not familiar. Um, but what I experienced, I actually can't articulate properly. I can't put into words what I experienced there. It was a horrifying moment to my life. And it was a moment, and I remember screaming and grabbing. I remember it vividly. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was screaming, grabbing my brother, and never felt such dread. The best way I could put it is, it was if I could imagine what hell might be like, it was that, right? And then we're talking about like fractions of a second, right? Which is spooky to think about, right? Now, let's fast forward a couple of days. That was, whatever. I feel like an idiot, I'm embarrassed, but whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do ketamine again, and I just kind of go on with my life. And to the outside world, nobody noticed anything was different, but I was slightly changed. That affected my life, and again, I don't really like talking about this stuff. It's not something I'm proud of. It's not something I think is funny or anything like that. So, but I remember I had commuted to school, and I live near New York City, so I would go into the city every day. And over the bridge, I was fine, but I would start to think like, well, what if a bomb went off, right? But I was basically myself, right? I could still fly, I could still do these type of things, but there was just a little bit of nervousness that was there, and I think what it was sort of becoming familiar with the reality that I'm going to die, which up to that point I don't think I really accepted, despite being in the Marine Corps. Um, but I basically go through my life. We can fast forward a little bit. So it's my father's birthday. I'm 27 years old, and we're going to Dominican Republic. Okay, I'll remember the flight back very well. And then we had a great time in Dominican Republic. It's my father's 65th birthday, excuse me. And he I still remember getting on the plane and my father taking what was probably like an Ativan or something like that. Maybe probably something like less harsh than that. I remember thinking like, geez, maybe I should take it. I sometimes do get nervous on flights, and that I didn't really want to, again, I never really was a big into drugs. So I wind up not taking anything, and I have on the plane, what I now understand to be my first real panic attack. Right. So I'm on this plane. We have about 2 hours left in the flight, and it's bumpy. Right. It's really bumpy, and I'm having like a straight up panic attack. I remember I'm sitting next to my brother. I'm in the window. It's difficult to even talk about because I get anxious thinking about planes. I'm in the aisle facing the window. I remember saying to my brother, I'll call him John. John, I need you to help me. Like I don't know what's going on. And he doesn't get it, right? I think he's had panicky moments. Never panicked. It's like, what do you mean, dude? You're fine. And I was like, no, I'm gonna die. And he was like, no, dude, you're fine. I was like, no, like I need help. I need you to help me, right? He's like, all right, go talk to dad, see if he has any of the pills, right? So I go to my dad. I said, Dad, do you have any pills left? I always think about what happens if he says yes and he gives me whatever it was, right? Am I fine today, right? Because I avoid this kind of like compounding fear, this like very severe panic attack. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But needless to say, he didn't have the pills. And then I asked, was there any alcohol, right? Because I know alcohol will calm me down. So I asked the flight attendant, hey, do you have anything to drink? No, we're too close to landing. We can't give you anything to drink. So I still have like an hour and a half left at this point, right? And it's really dreadful, right? I mean, it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. I'm praying. I'm doing everything, and I am religious. I could talk about that at another point. But yeah, I mean, I don't wind up like screaming or throwing a tantrum, which is odd because I've had that happen before. But that is like that's like the most dramatic change for me, right? I can even remember the drive back, right? We're driving with my brother's brother-in-law, right? And he's kind of driving like an asshole. Normally that would never really spook me unless like they were really driving like an ass. And I remember just being scared the whole ride. And I get home and I kind of think, though, I go to bed and I kind of think, well, that was weird. Oh, glad it's over, right? That's it. Well, the next morning I wake up and I make a big cup of coffee, as I do every morning, right? I think it was like 2 cups of like these like really strong coffee. I drink it and it's just boom, I'm right back on the plane, right? I'm having panic attacks. I'm scared. I don't know what the hell to do. I'm with my mom and I'm like, Ma, you gotta help me. Ma, you gotta help me. Like I'm dying. She's like, nah, you're just having a panic attack. Because my mother's also dealt with this. My grandmother's dealt with this. My father's dealt with this. It's a family affair, as it is sadly in so many cases. So I'm not doing well though. This is like day after day. I'm just full panic mode, right? I mean, I'm really not doing well. So, and at that time, I just had a business that I had sold, so I was not under the best conditions, but I was okay. I was with my parents. So, I think I went fast forward a little too far. I probably was only about 26 at this point. Anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. So I go to a psychiatrist. My mom said, "Well, go to this guy. He's helpful, right?" So he tries to put me on like some medication, or he immediately puts me on like Klonopin, right? And it kind of works, right? I mean, I remember at first, like God knows how much Klonopin I was taking, a lot, right? But it kind of works, right? I'm able to sort of stabilize. I'm able to kind of live my life, and again, to the outside world, I'm maybe dimmed a little bit. I am not comfortable flying at all, right? I do have occasional panic attacks, but I can basically live my life, right? I can go to a job, I can have a good job, I can work hard there, right? Probably not to the same degree, again, because I'm kind of dumbed down by the Klonopin every day. I'm taking it like a lot. If you're familiar with Klonopin, I'm probably taking like 3 milligram a day, right? But I stay on this, and he tries to put me on SSRIs. I try him, I don't like him. I try another one, I don't like him, right? I'm sure we've all been there. So fast forward maybe a year, I meet my future wife. And again, at this point, I mean, I'm barely taking any Klonopin, if at all, right? I basically stabilized, but it's still very much there. I still have panicky moments. I still don't fly. But it's very manageable. I think it's the best way to put it. It's a very manageable experience. And we get married, and the first year is pretty good, right? Yeah, that's really all there is to say. We have a nice apartment, and my wife gets pregnant within that year, by the way. And about a year into our marriage, we have my son, John, or we have my son. And yeah, I remember I'm at the hospital. This is interesting. I'm getting a little bit emotional talking about this because I don't really talk about this all that often. But I remember at the hospital thinking to myself, and it sucks because I know if you've been through this, like you've had these moments and they suck. They absolutely suck in hindsight, right? I remember thinking like, I'm looking at myself like, oh, okay, maybe it's finally over, right? Maybe I'm finally over this thing. Well, I then have to pick up my mother-in-law about 2 weeks. So we go home, we take my son home, and we're happy, everything's good, right? I then have to pick up my mother-in-law from JFK, right? So a lot of bridges. I go over to the GW. Okay, let me fast forward. So I remember I drank. Now this one, I'd stopped drinking coffee. I drink a lot of tea. I still drink tea. So I started drinking tea again recently. I remember I drank oolong tea, which tends to be very high in caffeine. So we'll drink too much of it. Then, and I always wonder if I didn't do this, am I okay, right? I wonder. I don't know. I stop at Wendy's and I eat way too much, and my stomach, right? My stomach is in pain, which anyone who knows anxiety knows if your stomach's upset, it's going to mess with your head, right? So I'm not feeling well, but like, again, at this point, like, I haven't had like really major issues driving. But I know as I'm about to get down the GW bridge that like I don't feel well. I don't want to do this, but I have to, right? It's my mother-in-law. She's coming over from overseas, right? So my mother-in-law doesn't live in the United States. So I'm driving. I get to the Throgs Neck Bridge, and I'm freaking out. I'm like straight freaking out, like full blown panic mode. The equivalent of like what I have today, right? Not as of today, but what I'm capable of today, right? This is that next major inflection point, by the way. So I pull off. I don't know if you know, you can pull off to the side of the road prior to the Throgs Neck. I'm just saying, I'm calling my mom. I can't do it. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't drive over this bridge, right? So, Daniel, you got to drive over the bridge, right? I know, I've been there. Remember, my mother's done this before. Daniel, you got to drive over the bridge. You got to do it. Can't do it, Mom. Not doing it, right? I'm there like over an hour, right? I'm thinking, do I get an Uber, right? I can get an Uber to JFK. I'll pick her up there. I'll make up some BS, and I'll pick up the car tomorrow, right? That's what I'm thinking. And honestly, in hindsight, again, it's one of those things. Look, with anxiety, yes, exposure is good, and you need to expose yourself. But sometimes, if you expose yourself and you don't understand what you're trying to do with the exposure, you can fuck yourself up. And I wonder, excuse my language, I'm going to try to not use vulgarities during this. And I wonder, had I taken that Uber, as embarrassing as it would have been, as stupid as it would have been, I wonder if today I would have been better, right? I don't know. Either way, I didn't take the Uber and I drive over this bridge. Scary, horrifying. I dropped two. If you've ever been over the Throgs Neck, it's a hell of a bridge, by the way. It's a hell of a bridge. Very long bridge. It's not a fun bridge, okay? It's a long and winding, stupid, gigantic bridge. It makes me nervous to even think about it, okay? So, and yeah, I mean, I'm like full-blown agoraphobic. That's like my thing, right? Primarily. OCD, agoraphobic. That's really how it tends to manifest itself. Just general panic attacks. Anyway, so I do get over, right? I dump these 2 bottles of water on my head. I get over, though. I pick up my mother-in-law, and I'm like totally like chock full of K-pins to Klonopins. Like, I'm like, at that point, I don't really take them all that often, but I was like, I did take one for the ride, so in case I get nervous. I think I took like 4. I'm still wired, right? Now 4 is like above the legal dose. Legal dose is actually 3. I'm still wired. I'm not like, well, this wasn't like me crossing the mountain, right? This wasn't like me like overcoming like my fears and I win. No, this was me like, I can't believe I did that. I kind of regret doing that. I'm horrified. I don't know what to do, right? Anyway, we drive home. I'm a little bit less scared because I have my mother-in-law with me, right? And that's kind of pretty common. And we get home, and there it's just hell, right? There I go into, so now you're going back about 2 years, about 28 at this point. And mind you, I have an infant, right? And I'm just messed up, right? I'm not well at all. And yeah, I mean, this is a serious burden on my family. You know what I mean? Like, my wife is like, I need you to, because you got to remember, like, up to this point, I mean, sure, she knows I get a little panicky, but that's about it. She knows I don't fly. That's kind of it, though, right? She's like, yeah, we'll get over the flying at another point. We basically have a good marriage, good life, right? A good job, you know? And I also took an extended leave. Like, we had really generous, and again, I wonder if the role this played. We had very generous paternity leave at my work, and I take off like I want to say like 12 weeks, right? So I'm not working and I'm just there in my head. I'm just getting worse and worse and worse and worse, right? But eventually I have to go back to work and I think, well, I'll do it, right? So I get up, I go to work, and I'm not well at work, right? I'm commuting into the city and I'm panicky the entire time. I mean, I'm like freaking out on the subway. I remember like I would ask people at times like, hey, like, would you mind just talking to me like while we're on the subway, like, because and I would be like dressed normal and like clean shaven, so they wouldn't think I'm like trying to rob them. Would be like a lot of times, or sometimes I would have a panic attack. I would start like shaking and I would get like really scared and I would like like act like a psychopath, right? And I would like people would get scared, so I would say things like, look, like, I'm not gonna hurt you, not gonna hurt you, like I'm just panicking, like I'm not gonna hurt anyone, don't worry, I'm okay, you know. It's really embarrassing. I don't, whatever. It just maybe you've been through something like that. Like you're not alone. I've dealt with it too. I know it's like the most embarrassing, shameful thing on the planet doing that, right? Or even like asking a random stranger, like, "Hey, can you talk to me?" Yeah. Anyway, one day I get going to work and I don't know what happens. Right? I wind up having a really nasty panic attack and I talked to my boss, some close friends, and I said, let's go outside, right? So we go for a walk. We're in Fide, and you know, it's just getting worse, right? I'm like taking Klonopins and like, it's just not working, right? I'm just there like, holy shit, this is not good. And I say, hey, Adam, gotta go, right? Pack up my bags, run outside, literally run to the path, right? And I'm like running down. If you ever, it's kind of funny, right? You have to laugh at yourself as much as it sucks. And like, honestly, this is an emotional thing to talk about, but at the same time, like, you gotta kind of understand that, like, you have to see it as the kind of humor to some degree, as horrible as it is, right? So I'm running. If you've ever been through the World Trade Center, right, to like the big dome, right? I forget what they call it at this, the Oculus, I think, to get to the PATH train. Like, imagine a guy like midday. So it's like 10 a.m. So there's still a good amount of people there, right? Like literally screaming at the top of his lungs, like, help, 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 like running, sprinting, full speed. Also like 6 foot large man, right? Um, and I'm fucked up, right, at this point. Like I don't know what's going on, right? So um this guy calms me down. Thankfully, I get to the path. And this guy calms me down. He's like, "Oh, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you." And like talks me through it, which is really. Hey, if you ever watched this, thanks a lot for that, buddy. That was really helpful. I can't go back into work after this though. And thankfully, again, my work has a very generous work from home policy. They have pretty much like, hey, if you want to work from home, you can just work from home indefinitely. So I do. But I also, like, I'm not doing well, and I decided to let me check into an outpatient program for the anxiety. So here's where I get into taking a lot of medication, medications that are actually for anxiety instead of just like panic stuff, like what I would call like band-aids, which are benzos. But at this point, they're still like, they haven't really diagnosed me properly. They think I'm bipolar because I do have like some mood issues, and bipolar seems to be the prevailing one, right? Because that was my initial diagnosis, and I feel like they don't want to shift from that, right? So they're giving me all these bipolar meds, and they're doing nothing, right? They're doing absolutely nothing. I'm just getting worse. I'm having really bad side effects from them. And it's horrible, right? I'm on like lithium, which is then affecting I think it's my kidneys, and my kidneys, my blood is not showing up good. I'm scared. I want to make this work, right? I have my baby at home, right? My wife is relying on me, right? At this point, like, I had just been, a pretty good provider, a pretty good husband. And now I'm like an outpatient. Now, thankfully, I'm getting my full pay during this period, but like, it's not good, right? It's not good. My wife's scared. Everyone's scared, right? Now, um, uh, I wound up having a really bad panic attack one day on the way there. And then they're saying, well, why don't you just go to inpatient for a little while so we can control medication a little bit more, and we can really study you a bit more, see how you react with it, and we'll kind of go from there. And that was probably the worst experience of my life. I've dealt with some difficult things in my life. I can assure you that this was up there, certainly up there. Um, and Yeah, it was horrible. I don't really know how to explain it. It was freaking awful. I was so they have like one thing that's interesting, at least with this place, is they have like a young adult wing, so like 18 to 30, like 40 probably, and then like they have like a seniors wing, right? Maybe like 40 plus. And I don't know if you ever experienced been around people who are mentally ill and they're very old and they've dealt with this for a very long time. The thing is about mental illness is it progresses, right? And yeah, I mean, like you talk about like a 70-year-old man like howling into the night, attacking the help, right? The women who are trying to help him, the women who work there, and like it's just I can't sleep. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything. Can't talk to anyone. I don't even have cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I don't have a vape. um, it's a horrible experience. Probably a bad decision. I come out worse. I don't know what to do, but I found a doctor. Oh, this is depressing to even talk about, man. This is not easy to talk about. I'm sorry. And I'm not putting on a show. I maybe should have written this out. But I find a doctor and he's pretty good and he puts me on this medication and it starts working. Medication starts working and I start to get better. Like, this is great. I'm getting better. And like that, it stopped working. And oh boy, that is a horrible, disheartening experience. That is one of the worst experiences you can go through. Yeah, a lot of one of the worst. I don't know, guys. Just in my life, these are some of the really traumatic experiences for me, right? So I don't know what to do. I go back to him. He's like, no, you got to stick on the medication. Because he knows I've been a pain in the ass about the medication in the past, right? That's the way I grew up. My mom was very, very against medication, generally speaking. That was kind of the way I grew up. And I kind of, I still am like very skeptical of medication for psychiatric illness, generally speaking. So he's like, no, we're going to stay on it. So I stay on it, right? I think about my son. I think about my wife. I'm like, I got to stay on it, right? So I stay on the medication and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Call the doc. Doc, you got to put me on something different, right? He tries to put me on something different. It doesn't work, right? Fuck this guy. Done with him. I'm going to go back to taking Klonopin, right? And I'll just try to figure it out on my own, right? So that was probably about a year and a half ago. And then I basically got better on my own. I did work on myself. I still wasn't going into work, but I was able to drive a good amount. Working from home, I'm pretty productive. I'm doing well at work, right? And that was basically the way things went. I'm not where I'm not where I was prior to the incident with my mother-in-law, where I started to have these like really, really severe panic attacks. But I'm like very high functioning again, right? So it's like if you knew me, you would know, okay, he's not the same as he was, but like, whatever. He seems to be able to live a decent life, right? So, and I'm doing talk therapy. I'm doing meditation. All this stuff is very, very helpful to me. I strongly believe. I highly recommend it. By the way, if you're not doing it, please like find some time to do meditation. Honestly, it's the best thing I think you could do if you struggle with this type of stuff. No, not a promo. And then just fast forward a little bit, the lockdown, right? The lockdown over coronavirus has really fucked me up. Well, I guess I'm just going to use vulgarity in this because I'm talking about very emotional things. In my daily life, I try not to use vulgarity, but look, it's difficult here, okay? I don't talk about this stuff a lot, and it's very emotional, right? So lockdown comes, and like now I'm required by law to do the one thing that I really need to not do, right? Which is not go outside. If you're agoraphobic, you need to expose yourself, right? You need to go see things. You need to experience different things. So again, you can rewire that brain. And if you don't do that, if you do the things that an agoraphobic would do, right, voluntarily, your agoraphobia will come back and get worse. And that's exactly what happened, right? So here I am today. I'm not as bad as I was in the past and during different periods, right? I can basically go throughout my life. I mean, we're all working from home, which is good. But I'm struggling, right? And as of today, I'm actually considering trying out that Lexapro again. I'll do a video about that. I'll do a little more in-depth video of my experience with drugs. But yeah, I mean, look, it's the thing is, I'll talk about that at that point. But where I'm at today is my day-to-day life. So I can talk about like different periods. Like there are periods where like my day was like hiding in the corner, hiding in my room with the lights off, waiting to go to sleep, right? With like a 6-month-old baby, right? can't really do anything unless my wife is like, I need you to do this. I do it. I go immediately go back to bed. Right. It's not, that's not what I'm like. Right. You can see, you know, I would never be able to do this, you know? Um, um, but like, I can't drive over bridges right now. Right. I struggle to drive 5-6 miles. It's not easy for me right now. So it's really more of specifically the agoraphobia, right? I'm not really having those daily intense panic attacks, which if you've had before, I'm sorry. Like, I know how much awful those are, man. Anyway, that's all I got. I mean, that's basically my story. Again, the reason for this channel, like I do hope it's helpful to hear something like that. Because like, I know that some people have it much worse, and I sympathize with you if you do. Like, honestly, my mother once said, and I'll probably say this again, because my mother dealt with this, you know, many ways, I'm sure worse than I have. And she said, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. And it's one of those things that you'd kind of say from time. It's kind of a saying, right? But like, I say sincerely, I would not wish this on my worst enemy, someone I despise, right? Someone could not do something to me that in response, I would say, yes, let them experience this. No, it would be too cruel. I think it would be unbecoming of a Christian. It would be unbecoming of a human being to wish this on anybody, or to push this on anyone. So, look, I hope that I hope that I can get better, and that other people maybe get better with me, and this will kind of be an inspiration to other people. But this is my first video. Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you want, if you think is interesting, if you think this is interesting. So take care.